Hey there, everybody. This is Ken with Covenant Gaming, and we are back with another episode of Euro Truck Simulator 2. Today we are sitting in Venice watching this lovely air balloon going across the sky. Our plan today is to cross northern Italy and get ourselves up into Switzerland. This will actually take care of all the cities in Italy except for one, which I got off camera before because it was kind of a pain in the butt to get to. So I think today is going to be a pretty exciting trip. We're going to go ahead and get into our truck here and start up and get moving. We have lots to talk about once again, as usual. All right, I'm going to get myself out onto the road, and then we will catch up with all the little doings with the channel and with the game changes and things like that. All right, great. So before anything else, I'm gonna give a little bit of a complaint about Venice, which was where we're starting. I didn't really bother looking much up about this, but so I'm kind of bummed. Venice, I've never been there before, but when I think about Venice, I think about the canals and the the guys with the sticks in the boats, the gondoliers or whatever the heck they're called, and with the black and white striped shirts. So I was like, oh great, Venice, we'll zip over to Venice, and that'll be a great place to start our next episode from. We can we can maybe zip through the town a little bit and enjoy some scenery and all that kind of thing. So I get to Venice, not a single canal, nothing. It's a seaport, so there's like a port and all that, very interesting and all that, but no canals. So I'm figuring once again this is another one of those base game cities that hasn't been updated in any way yet, and because of the limitations on technology at the time, they just didn't really do anything too fancy. The original cities are so as far as how they look. So that was a gigantic bummer, but hopefully some of the cities through northern Italy that we go to see are going to be a little bit nicer. We're going to find out. There's definitely some cool stories that we have to talk about along the way. But before we get on to that sort of thing, we'll do a little catch up on the community and everything that's going on with the channel. So we have officially passed 250 subscribers, which is fantastic. That is halfway towards YouTube has two ways of monetizing. I do hope to monetize this channel in the future. It's my my first real goal. But there's two levels of monetization. The first one is when you hit 500 subscribers and something like 1,000 watch hours. It unlocks the basic monetization, and I should actually hit that maybe in a couple of months, I'm hoping. But that monetization is not great. It lets people donate some money if they want to, like send little gifts or whatever, and that stuff is kind of cool, but I don't know how often any of that sort of thing really happens. It'd be fantastic if it did, but it's nothing that I'm gonna quit my job over. The better monetization is when you hit 1,000 subscribers and hold on a second. When you hit 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours in the last year, and that's when like the ad revenue kicks in, which is where the majority, other than sponsorships and Patreon and things like that, that's where the majority of your straight up YouTube money comes from, is those ads. So 250 subscribers is a quarter of the way there. Or the watch hour numbers are looking pretty good at all that. So that's pretty cool. One note, I'm really interested in whether you guys care about this kind of stuff. I really enjoy the business/strategic side of the channel, the channel analytics and all that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff is sort of interesting to me, and so I talk about it in the videos, but I don't know how much you guys really care about it. So if you don't care, let me know in the comments, because I can stop talking about this stuff if you really don't like it or care about it. If you do like it, let me know that too. Either way, I can adjust based on what you think. But as far as the community is concerned, I've had the last video, I got some good comments out of there. I was asking about immersion mods and the possibility of adding more mods to the game to increase immersion. Last episode I had put in, you know, the trailer and company mods so that everything, the companies and the trucks that you drive by, everything kind of represents the real world a little bit more, as opposed to like the fake made-up companies that SCS Software does for their cities. And so I was looking for some other ideas on things to increase immersion in the game. And we got a great bit of info from Nomad. He actually emailed me a big list of different mods that he recommends for immersion. There was a lot of stuff around weather, some graphics mods, you know, things to help the trees look better, the roads to look better, stuff that would yeah, it's the weather and other various things like that. Traffic, making better traffic. You know, like one thing I find kind of interesting is how little traffic there is. You know, you get around some of these cities and you know darn right well there's way more traffic than is represented in the game, but the game just doesn't render that much traffic. So there are mods to fix that. So I am actually going to be going through that list. I did a quick look through the list recently. We've gotten into Verona, so we'll talk about this very shortly. So yeah, I'm going to go through the list that Nomad sent me over the next few days and make some decisions on what I want to add and what I don't want to add. You know, if it makes the videos better, if it makes the gameplay more exciting to watch and all that, they'll go in there. So I'll make that decision over, you know, the next week or so. I will. Nomad actually has a second channel. He's got his own channel and he does some streaming on there, so I thought I'd give him a little bit of promotion right here. I'm going to put a link to that channel in the description, but his other channel is called Omitinus. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. And he basically just does streaming. He streams driving around in Euro Truck Simulator, and I jumped into one of his streams really quick. We have a pretty big time difference between over there and over here, so I jumped in there while I was at the beginning of my workday just to say hi and to thank him for everything he's been doing for the channel. But it looked pretty good. I didn't get a lot of time to spend watching, but it seemed interesting. And so, as I said, anyone who is interested in watching some live streaming that's maybe more over in the European time zones, check the description and you can see what he's doing over there. Also, Sword Destin gave some good information about when we were looking at the used trucks market. There's a little drop down inside there that lets you choose whether you're looking at left-hand drive or right-hand drive trucks, where the steering wheel is, whether it's here on the left or if it's over there on the right. And that will, by switching to right-hand drive, it will give you more selections for trucks that you can buy, which I didn't even think about. I just left it. I always just think about left-hand drive. I don't get involved in the right-hand drive. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. And by switching over there, you can get a lot more choices for your truck in the used truck market. And what's cool about that too is that you can actually go to the truck dealer and you can swap from left to right, and it doesn't cost you anything. They all cost the same amount, so swapping them out doesn't really, I don't think it costs you anything to swap them out like that. So if you buy a truck with right-hand drive and you want it to be left-hand, you can buy that. What? Come on. I'm not, look at that. I'm way behind the line. That is robbery. A little upset about that. They get a little aggressive with the red light violations in this game, I think. So, whatever. So we also got, I'm going to butcher this name, Kim Reinekainen. Ooh, that's a tough one. Kim Reinekainen also let me know that I was talking about drivers, and that if the driver doesn't like the truck that you give him, he won't do anything with it. And I think I'd said that there wasn't a way of knowing about that. Evidently, I was wrong about that. He was saying that if a driver does not like the truck that you give him, maybe it's too busted or it can't do what it needs to do, he will actually send you an email letting you know. So if you don't have any emails, that means your drivers are good to go. It's good stuff. He also gave some good advice on the market overall. If you go watch the last video before this one and take a look through the comments, you can see some of his advice. Nomad had also given some good advice on choosing trucks in the used truck dealer. Basically, he was telling me that Iveco that I bought is a complete piece of garbage and not really worth buying. There were some others that were in there that would have been better choices. So if you're looking for a little bit more informed info on the market and on used trucks, go take a look at the comments on the video before this. I'll stick a link for that video up there in the corner right there. Other than that, as I said, yeah, I'm gonna look into mods in the next week or so. And maybe we'll be seeing some changes in the near future. Other than that, that wraps up all the channel and community info. And it looks like we actually drove all the way through Verona and didn't get a chance to talk about it at all. That's fine. I have just a couple bits of info about it that I'll bring up right now. The first one is that Verona is, anyone who's read Shakespeare will know this, that Romeo and Juliet, which is probably his most famous play, took place in Verona. That's even if you don't read Shakespeare, everyone's heard of Romeo and Juliet. So that took place in Verona, and this one I found kind of hilarious. There's actually a really big tourist attraction there. And the tourist attraction is Juliet's balcony, like the big balcony scene where, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo, and blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. And so really famous scene from the play. And so there is a tourist attraction for a balcony in Verona, and it's called Juliet's Balcony. Except the thing is that book, that play, was never written about anyone in particular. So it's just completely made up. Somebody got really, I gotta admit, it's pretty funny, it's pretty smart. They just got industrious and decided to call their balcony Juliet's Balcony and became famous because of it, which I thought was pretty hilarious. So we will be moving on to Milan after this. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little break and drive us closer to Milan, where we will catch up and we can talk a little bit more about that town when we get there. I'm going to also need to, I should have rested right back there because I need to get some sleep and it's getting dark. So I'm probably going to try and sleep before I hit that town as well, so we can get some daylight going and I can get rid of that fatigue meter up above. But we will catch up in a couple of minutes. I'll see you soon. And welcome to Milan, the city of fashion. So this is kind of an interesting one. So my relationship to fashion is fairly non-existent. To me, fashion is a pair of comfortable jeans and a t-shirt. All my clothes are generally picked out by my wife, on those rare occasions where I go out and actually buy clothes. She'll humble me, she'll let me go ahead and pick out some clothes, and then she, quickly just laughs at me and then goes out and picks out other things for me to wear. And for me, I just take whatever she gives me and I wear them. And it seems to work out fine. So I don't really have any fashion sense. I don't care about fashion, really. You know, it's a big industry, so a lot of people care about it. You know, I'd say most people do. But I really don't. It doesn't much matter to me. However, I did, for a period of time when it first came out, got oddly obsessed with the television program Project Runway, which is an American TV show. It's one of those pseudo reality slash competition TV shows like Top Chef and Master Chef and all those, about like up and coming fashion designers, and they all, you know, compete and do fashion challenges and everything. And I got obsessed with this show for a couple of years. I think maybe I found it on streaming and started binging it, or whatever. But I was really enjoying it for some reason, which was kind of odd because, like I said, I don't care about the industry, but something about the show, I just enjoyed it. So in that show, they would always end with New York Fashion Week. You know, they would go to Fashion Week and do the final two people would do their playoff in Fashion Week. Well, that's the New York Fashion Week. Milan is the home of the real Fashion Week, the original, the one from Europe, the one that New York copies when they do their Fashion Week. So that is what this place is known for. It's also, you know, I read some stuff about the plague. Don't think I feel like talking about the plague here on the show. So that was about it. I did have some fond memories of Project Runway when I was thinking about it. One of the amusing things is every once in a while I think about whether or not I should come up with, you know, like whoa, that guy was motoring. Whether I should come up with some kind of a catchphrase to use in these episodes, you know, like some guys close their episodes with some kind of catchphrase, or the catchphrases. It's a big part of, you know, things. And it got me thinking about Tim Gunn, who was the guy on the show who would work with the individual contestants and, you know, give them advice and help them out. And he was kind of like the day-to-day person. And he had a great catchphrase, and it was always it was make it work.
Make it work.
You know, he would do, all right, everybody, make it work. And so I kind of wanted to steal that, but, you know, that's Tim Gunn's thing. He's known for that. I'm not going to steal his catchphrase, but I did think about that, and you know, so that was pretty interesting. But that's about it for Milan. We're now going to be moving on to the next town is Turin, and this place actually has some really good stories around it. So this ought to be interesting. And once again, Milan. I drove through Milan, and it is just boring architecture. It's got to be, once again. I should look these up, what ones have been reworked and what ones are original, because they're really boring. I also wonder if I feel like if I had pro mods installed, these cities would probably look a lot better, because I know that they part of what they are those lanes closed? Yeah, we're gonna try it anyway. I'm not sure about what's gonna happen here. Yeah, so I think pro mods redoes a lot of the cities that SCS did, and makes them look better. So once again, Milan is a kind of disappointment. We'll see if Turin is the same. I'm really hoping, because I'm still trying to continue through all these base game cities. I'm hoping we run into some that are impressive. Otherwise, I'll probably just rush through all of this offline and then get us into the DLCs a lot quicker, so that we can start seeing some more interesting architecture along the way. But we'll go ahead and catch up once we get to Turin. And like I said, there's actually some more interesting stuff that I found about this city coming up. So we will catch up in a few. See you soon. And we have arrived in Turin. This is actually the second time I have arrived in Turin, because I just did a loop through here. I gave some couple interesting stories and got ready to talk about the big thing. And then I realized that I have a fan running behind me, that because it's kind of hot in this office today. We got a heat wave going on right now, and I'm not air conditioned down here. But yeah, so I had a fan going while I was driving between the cities just to cool off a little bit, and I forgot to turn it off when I started talking again, and that fan would have blown out the microphone. So I had to stop and go like, oh, let me drive through Turin once more and talk about this stuff again, because you all do not want to hear the fan. It's one of those box fans that's ludicrously loud. So, and I'm wearing headphones, so I didn't remember that I was running it. So anyway, we're back in Turin. And whoa, God, that was a close one. As I'd said, there's a couple small things about this town that are interesting, and then one kind of really cool one. The first one is that this is a big chocolate lovers town. Anyone who knows Nutella, and I do love my Nutella, Nutella is from Turin. It was also, and I didn't write the name of this one down, but it's some product that's basically chocolate and hazelnut paste, which is kind of what Nutella is. Nutella is like chocolate and hazelnut in a paste. So the European version of, the more European sounding version of Nutella, whatever, that also came from here. So that's pretty cool. The other one is that the auto manufacturer Fiat is originated here. I'm not the biggest Fiat fan. I think the cars are a little too small. I don't like tiny vehicles like that. But Fiat's well respected. It's a great brand. I know people that drive them, and so that's very cool. I'm going to do it again. I'll pop out here so you can see it. But there is a photo opportunity right over here. That at first I thought it was going to be that arch or something, but that is actually looks like a bridge. It's not an arch. That's some kind of a suspension thing. But right here, the Mole Antonelliana, which I am nomad. You can step in and tell me how that one's pronounced. But yeah, this looks like maybe a church, something kind of important looking. It's old, so that's pretty cool. We'll grab another photo of that. I'll throw some stuff up on the screen about it, and we'll get moving. So back to the most interesting thing, at least for me, that I found out about Turin. And this is possibly something that most people will have heard of before. It's a more Christian thing, but I think it was popular and famous enough that most people will have heard of it anyway. It is known as the Shroud of Turin. And the Shroud of Turin is, and it's been theorized that the Shroud of Turin is basically the death shroud for Jesus Christ. When he was buried, this would have been the linen sheet that he was wrapped in when he was buried before he was resurrected. And the Catholic Church actually venerates it as being true, meaning they think that it is authentic and that it is in fact his burial cloth. And I'll put a picture of it up. The neat thing about it is it has, regardless of what you believe, it has like this image kind of imprinted of it that looks like a person, which is why they think it's Jesus's and all that. But there are two reasons that are given for why this is that a prison? I don't know what that is. There's two reasons given for why that is most likely not true, that is Jesus' burial cloth. One of them is scientific, and the other is biblical, based on what the Bible says. So the scientific reasoning is that they carbon dated it, and the carbon dating is saying that it dates back to between 12 and 1300 AD, which would have been well after Jesus's time. It's good 1200, 1300 years afterwards. So that in itself would invalidate it. The people who want to believe it's true would say that it was a bad test, that the test was done on a repair that would have dated later, but whatever. The other reason that it is refuted is in the Bible itself. In the Gospel of Matthew, I think it's Matthew. In there, Peter talks about finding the tomb empty, and he finds the burial cloth that Jesus was wrapped in. and he describes that whole occurrence is described as what did I get? Loan installment. I thought I got busted on speeding. In there is talk about how Jesus was buried in the manner of the Jews, which would have a specific meaning to Jewish people of the time. And what that means is that the Jews had and I guess they continue to have, a very specific way of being buried. I didn't know that they still do this. I don't know how many people actually do, but it is still practiced. It's a really specific way of wrapping the body. And part of, and so the Bible says that Jesus was buried in this specific way. And the reason that this refutes the Shroud of Turin being his burial cloth is that that method of burial involves one wrapping up to the person's neck. So they're wrapped up to here. And then there's a second smaller cloth that's used to cover the face. And because of that, the Shroud of Turin couldn't be accurate, because the Shroud of Turin is one piece of cloth and it has an imprint of an entire body in there. So if that is in fact a burial cloth, it couldn't have been Jesus's based on what the Bible is saying. And that refutation was written by John Calvin, who was the father of the Reformation movement, and the Protestant faith spawned out from him. So actually, wait, or was that? Yeah, no, John Calvin. I'm getting my Catholic history screwed up, Christian history screwed up. So, yep, so those are two reasons that it is probably not his cloth, but regardless, it's still kind of interesting. Like I said, I put a picture up there of it, so it's kind of neat. I remember hearing about this when I was younger, so it's it's a pretty nifty thing. So that is that's kind of neat over there. That's the interesting stuff about Turin. And with that, our final destination is going to be Geneva, Switzerland, where we will be arriving shortly. I'm going to go ahead and get us a little closer to there, and then we can talk about Geneva before we drop this load off and wrap up the episode. So I will see you soon. And we have arrived at Geneva. So even though I was complaining about, I was saying that the base game cities are kind of disappointing. They're not really great. That's sorry. Ignore that noise. There's somebody sending text messages. Anyway, good grief, they're a chatty Cathy. What was I saying? I was saying that, even though the cities are kind of a disappointment in the base game, the one thing that is not a disappointment at all is the, between the cities, the countryside. It is absolutely breathtaking, some of that scenery between the cities. I'm going to probably start showing more of that as I'm driving, instead of just editing out all the driving between the cities, maybe to kind of give you a little more appreciation of what SCS is doing between the towns. So that part of the driving, which is the majority of it, is great. It's just, to be honest, the towns aren't that great. They're not that interesting. They're not showing a lot of great landmarks, at least in the older ones. So the new ones I do, as I said, the stuff that SCS is going back and redesigning, I expect is going to be a lot better. And I know the stuff in the DLCs, the later DLCs, are a lot better. Good grief! Look at that. Listen to how chatty those people are. Anyway, so let's talk about Geneva and what there is to be said about Geneva. It is a great city with a lot of history. The first one that's interesting is that and we're in Switzerland, so this should be no surprise, is that the wristwatch was actually invented here. I've kind of always had a dream to have a nice Swiss-made wristwatch with the gears and everything. I did have an opportunity once to get a Rolex. My wife's parents were gonna buy one for me, and they, as a wedding gift. But the problem is they're bloody expensive, and I'm, as much as I like watches and all that, I have a hard time with spending tons of money on things that are that inconsequential, and as well as other people spending money like that for me. So instead of them buying me a Rolex, I told them if they wanted to get me a nice watch, that they could buy me one of the Garmin Fenix Pros, which is also pretty expensive, but nowhere in the realm of how much a Rolex costs. However, that is a watch that will actually get a lot of use for me. It's not just a thing for looks. We do a lot of hiking, and we do a lot of traveling and stuff, and that watch will actually... Oops, I am just blatantly running that red light. Oh well. It'll map our hikes and does all kinds of great stuff for us. So that's actually really useful, and it's worth the money that it costs. So I decided against my one opportunity to get a really nice watch. But maybe someday, maybe when this channel takes off and I start making millions of dollars from filming Euro Truck Simulator 2 videos, I will take some of my fat stacks of money and buy a nice watch with it, but we'll see. But okay, so other than the watch, the other big ones are this is the home of CERN, C-E-R-N, which is the largest research center in the world. I think a lot of people probably will have heard of it. They have a really big particle accelerator around here, which is what they use to, they smash atoms together to break them apart and analyze the components of what makes up the subatomic particles of the world. So CERN, very, very famous research center. People come from all over the world to study here. And then the big one, of course, is that the Geneva Conventions. The Geneva Conventions are... What is going on? Hold on. Let me fix my map real quick. I'm getting some weird navigation here. Okay, yeah, that's fixed. So this is basically the birthplace of diplomacy. This is known right now as the Center for Diplomacy in the world. The Geneva Conventions are a series of treaties that dictate international humanitarian law, like in war. Some of the basics are, you're not allowed to use chemical weapons. You're not allowed to do torture, things like that. And all of those rules for how people are treated in war were designed and written here in Geneva. So it is a center place for diplomacy, and it continues to be to this day. So that's interesting. And now we have arrived at our destination. So we're going to go ahead and... Ooh, we got 90 experience point parking. That's going to make this really difficult. So we're going to go ahead and do our parking here and wrap up. Let's go ahead and get myself into position, and then we'll see how I do in this. I don't expect it's going to be very good. Alright, that wasn't too horrible. It took a little while, but I only had to pull forward once, so not too bad, and that was some good experience for that one. Alright, let's see how we did. We earned ourselves 15,700 euros, and we got ourselves to level 13, so let's go ahead and spend another skill point. What do we want to do? Do we want to do another long distance, do another ADR? I think I'm going to do another ADR. I'm not quite ready for longer trips yet. At some point I'm going to pump long distance up a bunch so that we can do some of those really long drives all the way across countries, but I don't think I'm quite ready yet. So let's go ahead and open up another license. Yeah, so maybe we can get maybe I'll start looking for some interesting cargo to carry. I haven't thought too much about that up till now, but this'll open that up. So let's go ahead and grab that license. That will finish it up for this episode. Next episode, I'm going to probably, like I said, I'm going to start doing some more towns offline a little bit to start moving us through the base content a little bit quicker. I do know that we're near the city of Bern, and maybe the next episode is just going to be at Bern. I think we're going to actually spend a full episode in that city because I was watching Zilla Blitz's episode where he drove through there, and it has a massive hidden road network. It's basically an entire town, and there's a ton that you can drive around and see inside there. So I very much want to see that myself, and I think it would make a pretty fun episode. So maybe what I'll do is I will find a delivery over to Bern, and then we can zip over there. We can drop the delivery off, ditch the trailer, and then drive around the city and take a look at all those hidden roads and talk about Bern for a while. So we'll see how that works out. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this episode, I would ask that you leave a like, subscribe, comment, do all that great engagement stuff that YouTube loves so that it will continue to send this video out to the world. And until next time, this is Ken with Covenant Gaming saying, see you later.